Hey everybody, Ethan here from WordTech, back with another video, and today I'm going to be doing my full review of the Keychron Q1 Ultra. And I'll just say that there's a reason that I still have the box to this, unfortunately. But to start, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the Q1 Max instead. And I've got some other Keychron keyboards here for good reason. I have quite a few keyboards from them, and there's a point to why I have so many on the table here. But the Q1 Max is my favorite keyboard, I think, of all time. I also have some Model Fs that I really like, so it's a little bit of a debate between those two personally. But I really like this keyboard. I really like the KSA keycaps, which are just slightly shorter SA keycaps. Wonderful keyboard. I bought it about 8 months ago. It's been just an incredible typing experience. It comes with the Keychron Browns by default. I ended up swapping it out to the Keychron Jupiter Bananas, which I like a little bit better, the slightly shorter travel, the higher actuation point, things like that. But this keyboard was just incredible, and there's been tons of raving reviews about it. Artings, I think, gave it the 2025 and 2026 best keyboard you can buy right now. Just absolutely love this, and of course there's different sizes for it as well. This is just the Q1, which is the 75%. But Keychron at CES announced that they were going to be coming out with a Ultra variant of the keyboard, the Q1 Ultra, which obviously piqued my interest and probably piqued the interest of anybody who is a fan of the Q1 Max to wonder what they did to improve upon this. Now, it does have a better controller and stuff like that so that it's able to do higher pulling rates. It's supposed to have significantly better battery life because it's kind of designed from the ground up to be a battery, better battery life, better efficiency from the chip that's in that. It's also got their upgraded Palm switches rather than using something like Keychron. It actually uses Keychron switches. So all in all, it sounded good. It has an extra layer of, not foam, there's an extra layer inside it, some other things that are supposed to help with the sound. So I was really excited to get this. So I ordered it basically as quickly as I possibly could. We'll go over all the aspects in this, but it is unfortunately, I would actually not recommend this keyboard, and you should go pick up the Q1 Max. Hopefully they don't discontinue it because this keyboard kind of sucks. Now we're going to start by talking about some of the better stuff, which also applies to the Q1 Max and stuff like that. Build quality wise, it's actually phenomenal, right? The thing is a tank. It is thick, it is heavy, it's got a big battery in it. It's just a wonderful keyboard. It's built well. It's made of, all metal. The keycaps are all PBT keycaps. It's also using the same KSA profile keycaps that the Q1 Max came with, which again, I'm just a huge fan of. If you're a gamer, you might not like them quite as much as your standard like OEM or Cherry style, but it is good. And for typing, I think it's the best keycap, actually, in my opinion, out of pretty much everything I've ever tried. And just great build quality. I'm impressed with that. Software-wise, it's also fantastic. You've got the Keychron launcher that you use on the website. You can program everything in it. You've got a lot more options here, including like you can actually adjust the debounce and stuff like that, which you cannot do with the Q1 Max. So that's nice. You get more stuff available in the firmware that's on this, and part of that's related to that new controller that they have. So software-wise, it's also great. The problem is when you actually start typing on this keyboard, and that's where I was kind of blown away. As soon as I took it out of the box, I was blown away in a bad way, to be clear. As soon as I took it out of the box, I started typing on it, and it didn't feel right. Like, it felt mushy or slow. Like, it just did not feel right. And I was like, okay, maybe it's just me. Like, I took it out of the box, but I wasn't able to actually plug it in and use it right at that point. So I was like, okay, it might be nothing. We'll give this a little more time, whatever. Like, but it was weird. It was weird. Normally when you get a new keyboard or a new product that you're excited that's an upgrade, you just immediately are like, oh, this is so cool. And especially because you've got that kind of internal hype of getting a new product. You're like, oh, I'm excited to try the new thing that I bought, right? And being disappointed or confused right off the bat is not a good sign, right? Anyway, I just finally ended up getting to plug this thing in and start actually using it. And the first thing I noticed is it seemed to be missing some of my key presses. And it was specifically when I was doing words that had double keys. So you had to have like, the word well, W-E-L-L, right? The second L would be missed, which was really weird. And after doing more diagnostics, I thought it was maybe related to the switches. This is the brown variant, so that's the tactile variant of the switch. I thought maybe the switches were bad or something like that. So I swapped the switches out with the Keychron Jupiter Bananas, thinking that the switches was the problem, and that did seemingly resolve it, so the switches are at least part of the problem. But then I learned that the debounce is set to default of 50 milliseconds, and if you're a fast typer, then 50 milliseconds, you're going to be pressing the key faster than that if you're doing double keys. If you're, I can type like 180 words a minute. That's on a really good day and only in short bursts, but still, I'm pretty fast at typing, and so that was a huge problem for me. So I ended up actually putting the Browns back in this because I wanted to do more testing with it once I found that debounce setting was available and set so high by default out of the box. And when I did that, I lowered the debounce all the way down, which does introduce the possibility for key chatter, which is when you get unintended double presses, although I didn't experience any of that when setting the debounce all the way to the lowest possible. Then that issue of not being able to press the key fast enough went away. And I was able to test this too, again, by just tapping the key really fast and seeing that, oh, it's missing half of the actuations that I'm trying to do here. So when I lowered that, that fixes that core problem, which just would have made this keyboard completely unusable. So at this point in the video, you might be wondering, why do I still not recommend this? Because I apparently fixed the issue that was present out of the box, right? I was able to adjust that debounce time, which again is great that you could do that on this, because if you couldn't, you'd be screwed. And it's worth noting again that putting in the Keychron Jupiter bananas, that 50 milliseconds seemed to not bother me. I wasn't able to replicate it anymore, so these switches seem to be kind of slow. But regardless, there's 3 reasons that I still don't recommend this keyboard, and these are reasons that can't be fixed. These are core problems to the design of the product. So first, the switches are not good, and those can be swapped out, so that can kind of be fixed. So maybe I lied just there saying it can't be fixed. But the second is the sound, and the third is the stabilizers. So there's 3 really core problems here, and we'll actually get to the sound at the end. But the switches, I'm just gonna say these are garbage. Like, these are the worst switches I've ever used. I have used probably 25 different pairs, like different types of switches as daily drivers, everything from your Model M's to your Model F's, which are buckling spring, to your Jupiter bananas, to your, box white owls, to your box navies, to everything else out there, low profile stuff like this guy here, right? I've used a lot of switches. These are just awful. They feel mushy. They feel over lubed, but still scratchy somehow. They feel slow to respond. You feel like you're pushing buttons instead of typing. Like, these are just awful. And maybe the linears that you can get with this are better, but man, as a tactile switch, these are awful. And they're not just awful because of that, they're awful because they're also not tactile. Out of every switch I have ever used, and I'm talking even your lightweight MX Browns, these are the least tactile feeling tactile switches I have ever used in my life. You could tell me these are linear and put a blindfold on me. I would think they're linear. I would believe you. Or if you told me they were tactile and I had a blindfold on, I would tell you you're lying to me. These are clearly not tactile. I'm blown away by that. They're definitely the Browns. There is a very, very, very slight bump in them. So they're not like linears that were put the wrong stem on them or something. They're definitely just not good. So the switches are just awful. So if you're gonna buy this keyboard, first, I think just go buy the Q1 Max, because you're going to get those Keychron, I can't remember if it's the Keychron Browns or Jupiter Browns, but regardless, you're going to get those good Keychron switches that come with it. So it was actually great out of the box. But second, if you're going to buy this one for some reason, please don't, you're going to have to swap the switches out, because these are just, they're atrocious. Like, I'm actually surprised by how bad they are. Like, I have a lot of Keychron boards. I have never been disappointed with a Keychron board out of the box, but man, this was bad. The other thing is the stabilizers seem to cause really slow response times on any of the keys that require that, especially the spacebar. So even after I was able to fix the issue of not being able to press the keys fast enough because of the default debounce issue and these just slow response switches, the stabilizers are putting too much resistance on the spacebar key, and it's true for the other keys like shift and stuff, although it doesn't matter as much for that. But when you hit the spacebar, like, and if you're typing really fast and you hit it a sec, like, it doesn't even feel like you're hitting it. It feels like it doesn't come back up right. But it gets worse. It gets worse. The spacebar on this will get stuck part way up, and I don't think I can really show you guys from this distance, but I'll definitely get some B-roll of that. The spacebar can get stuck. And I was like, okay, that's ridiculous. So I put the Jupiter bananas in this. Again, I've swapped switches around on this thing a lot, and that didn't help. So, like, I don't know if the spring is actually stronger. I can't remember the specs on the springs between these two switches, but regardless, I think you would have to put like a heavyweight switch in there in order to get that spacebar to actually come all the way back up all the time. Now, it stops actuating, but it gets stuck before it goes past the tactile bump on it. So you're just like in this awkward position where if you don't lift your thumb off the spacebar enough, now the next time you press it, it's gonna actuate, but it's not gonna feel right at all, and it already didn't feel good in the first place. And this is true even if you're changing the switches out. Like, I don't know how you mess that up, but I don't know if it's too much lube in the stabilizers or something else, but I'm just, it was not good. So the final part of this is the sound, and the reason I saved this for the end is because that's subjective, but also not really fixable. So In my opinion, the sound on this keyboard is not as good as the good old Q1 Max, right? I love this keyboard. It sounds better with the bananas, but it still sounded great with the browns in it. And I'll get some, hopefully as good audio as I can of this. And then this here is quieter, right? It's significantly quieter. It doesn't give you that nice thok. Even when I put the Jupiter bananas in here, it is too quiet. I don't know why it's so much quieter, but it also is like dull. It doesn't sound as peaky. It doesn't sound as sharp. And that's what I personally like in a keyboard. But the other problem with the sound, and I think this is maybe a little less subjective, because maybe you would like a quieter keyboard. Now, of course, I've used this keyboard with things like the Kale Deep Sea Silent Pros, which were very quiet switches, and it's a quiet board when you do that. So, you know, it's something about this board is just quieter. But regardless, if you like the quiet noise, what you probably won't like is the fact that for whatever reason, and maybe this is to blame the stabilizers again, the spacebar on this is quieter than the rest of the keys, when normally your spacebar is louder than the rest of the keys. Now, subjectively, I prefer the spacebar to be louder than the rest of the keys. There are some people that want all the keys to be perfectly uniform, which is great if you like that, but this is quieter, and that is the problem with me. It's not as sharp, and it's quieter. And maybe it's not even quieter with a decibel meter, I'm not sure about that, but regardless, it sounds quieter, it feels less substantial to your ears. And if you want it to be level, that's fine. That's hard to get, but that's fine if that's what you like. But I don't think anybody will like this because it is so much quieter. It's just wrong. Like, there's so much wrong. And all in all, that's just like, I'm just disappointed because I have had, I think this is my 6th Keychron board, and they've certainly had their quality control problems. The spacebar stabilizer, or the spacebar stems were broken on my Q1 Max when I got it, and it took forever to get a response on that. I'm probably gonna make another video on that actually, specifically to show you guys how bad that was. Their customer service is not great, but I've been happy with them out of the box, except for some issues being broken. And I have 2 Limo Key L3s, which is also Keychron. Not had a single problem with those. I have a low profile K1 Max here, not a single problem with that. So I've been happy with Keychron keyboards over time. I also have one of their 60%. I don't remember what model it was a while ago. Didn't have any problems with it. So I'm really surprised that their flagship of flagships is so much worse than the thing that it's supposed to be replacing. And it actually concerns me a little because the pricing between these two, at least right now, is the exact same. And if that's the case, I sure hope they're not planning to replace and discontinue the Q1 Max with this, because this is a worse keyboard. And I'm just, it's sad to say that. It's a little bit sad to say that because I've been happy with the Q1 Max. I've been so happy. I was excited to be like, oh, is it just a little step up? It's just a little better, right? But it's just so much worse. It's just a flop in my opinion. And a lot of these things aren't even, you know, subjective. A lot of these things are just objective. Your spacebar should not be getting stuck down. You should not have issues typing super fast on any keyboard. The debounce should not be set to 50 milliseconds by default. And if they're doing that to cover up a problem with the switches, well, that's even worse. The switches should be tactile if they're labeled as tactile. Like, these are objective things. And then you've got things like the sound. That's subjective, sure, but still feels wrong to me too. If you're looking for that nice thocky sound, you're not getting it from this keyboard. It's just not right. So anyway, I'm going to be returning this actually, unfortunately, because it is just such a big disappointment. And I've never really felt like I wanted to return. I have never returned a Keychron keyboard. I've been happy with all of them, even when this one had an issue from day one with that broken stem on the spacebar. But this is going to be going back because, man, this is just, It's not good, and I hope that Keychron sees this and knows that they need to do better. You need to be a little more careful about you're releasing too many products is maybe what the issue is here, and not refining these enough or something. I don't know. But regardless, thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.